In my research on Rechtsrock in Germany, I usually focus on a whole bundle of core functions that Rechtsrock has for the extreme right. These functions are, of course, intertwined and can only be separated from each other in a very abstract way. However, it is important to me in this context to make a strict distinction between outward and inward functions. Regarding the Rechtsrock music market, we are primarily dealing with two central inward functions, namely money and inter- or transnational networks. Regarding the function of money or economic success, it is of course necessary to distinguish once again between the segment of record production and concerts, especially since both fulfill different functions with regard to the social relations of the extreme right. Concerts create a perceived community, and while recordings create an imagined community. So let's start with the recordings business segment. Currently, there are 38 companies on the market in Germany that can be considered relevant and are active in the production and or shipping of records. 29 of them are involved in production and shipping, while the remaining 9 are limited to shipping only, or in some cases include this branch of business in addition to the actual business, merchandise, fanzines, textiles, sports equipment, etc. 15 of these companies are to be understood as main players, both quantitatively in terms of the productions they put on the market and qualitatively in terms of their good reputation in the scene. Already at first glance, it is noticeable that some labels are more closely linked than others because the businesses are run exactly by the same people. For example, Aggressive Zone, Germania Records, Front Records, Wewelsburg Records, Old School and Subcultural Records, Rebel Records, and Subversion. Regarding the regional allocation first, a certain concentration on East German states is noticeable. And second, measured by the size of the federal state, a concentration in Thuringia, which has intensified since the recent move of Das Zeughaus from Fels in Bavaria to Apolda in Thuringia. In my survey for the CEP from spring this year, Das Zeughaus was still located in Bavaria. If one looks at the individual companies, however, it is particularly noticeable that with a few exceptions, all relevant businessmen can be assigned partly indirectly, partly directly to one of the two large right-wing terrorist networks, Blood and Honor or Hammerskins. In other words, the extreme right-wing music market continues to be virtually dominated by both networks in 2021. Moreover, also Blood and Honor and Hammerskins are often enough understood as competing networks. What is absolutely striking about the extreme right-wing music market as a whole is that it is rather cooperative than competitive. Looking at the mail order segment in particular on the surface, pretty much all productions can be purchased from pretty much every company, regardless of the respective extreme right-wing group affiliation. Furthermore, this is even made explicit, at least between the lines, in the relevant forums on Telegram and others. In August 2021, for example, PC Record reported that Front 7076 new album was as good as sold out there, but that the clientele should simply stop by other stores. The relevant packages were already on their way. The importance of the aspect of money qua right-wing rock for the extreme right is indicated by the already in 2020 significantly increased production figures with about 140 releases. In the years before, it was on average about 100. And in 2021, the number should be even higher. We had 140 releases in August. That means the slump in sales due to concert cancels because of the corona pandemic should be compensated at least to some extent. A relatively new trend analogous to the mainstream market is to put new albums on the market in several versions at the same time and above all, also on vinyl. For example, here we have a collection of one record by Mosh Pit. This means the target group of the releases are clearly collectors. At least as important as record production is the business segment of concerts. In 2021, 2019, according to the figures officially released by the federal government, there were 320 concerts with a total of around 35,000 visitors. If one assumes a comparatively cautious amount of 50 euros, which an average concert visitor spends per evening on entrance, donations, beer, bratwurst, CDs, and bernsteins, the extreme right turned over about 1.75 million euros in 2019 only at concerts in Germany. Colleague Greta will say a few more words about sales and recorded music sector later. The corona pandemic had also had an enormous impact on the extreme right in the area of concerts, as the number of visitors has fallen to less than a quarter of previous years, and with it, the turnover generated. Concerts, however, are not only marketplaces for the trade of partly banned records and merchandise, but also network hubs for extreme right-wing actors, as I would like to show with a short example. In December 2018, as every year since 2013, the Asgardsrai Festival took place in Kiev, Ukraine, which usually attracts extreme right visitors from all over Europe. Two central figures in the organization and execution of the festival are Olena Semeniaka, who among other things served as the spokesperson for the Ukrainian Azov regiment, and Henrik Möbus as the grey eminence of the NSBM, National Socialist Black Metal scene. The German one-man NSBM project Blutkult posted enthusiastically on Facebook during the 2018 festival that a Blutkult fan was also present there, and followed up a few days later with the news that Blutkult would also soon be playing at the European Rechtsrock Festival. What was meant here was the Hot Shower Festival that takes place every year in Milan, whereby Timo P., the head behind Blutkult, pointed out to his fans that tickets for the festivals in Germany could be purchased through the Black Metal store. The Black Metal store in question belongs, surprise, surprise, to Henrik Möbus, who is the sole German distributor of tickets for a number of international Rechtsrock festivals. As much as the German as well as the international Rechtsrock market still lacks the function or the business field concert agency, which has been established on the mainstream market for a long time, at least approaches can be recognized in the figure of Möbus, which point into this direction. And we can be curious to see to what extent this tendency will be confirmed next February, when the two business areas of record production and concerts will meet on stage and in front of the stage in Verona at a mini festival announced by the Italian production company Tuono Records, with a German German band Endstufe among others. And I guess that's probably 7 minutes. Thank you very much for your attention.